Everybody in Chicago want a name for themselves. Through killing, through basketball, through football, anything. But it's a lot of jealousy, so he'll kill him just to get a name, you know what I'm saying?
Fallen City Series, Chicago. In today's feature, let's focus on a city I think is one of the most talented as far as rappers that have emerged from that city to either mainstream success or cult-like followings on social media. Chicago in the last decade has probably garnered the most attention of any city. Sadly, it's been for mostly negative reasons, except a few rappers here and there that has had major success, but an argument can be made that their success is highly due to the fact their music spews the exact negativity that city has promoted, only on a different level, where record companies actually get behind these artists in mass marketing their music as if none of them have taken the time to listen to the lines and follow up to find out how destructive the music is that now represents the city of Chicago. Chicago has started a lot of trends in the last 10 years in hip-hop, from lingo to dress codes, hairstyles to even entire cities like Jacksonville and the Bronx, to name a few, that have followed the footsteps of Chicago rappers almost precisely. Bronx rappers even adopting similar names to commemorate their favorite Chicago rappers and all the negative in-street behavior they've been accused of, and some admit to in their music. Another avenue in hip-hop highly adopted by rappers all over the world, whether in the streets or not, male or female, is drill music. Drill, of course, is a word created in Chicago that, if you paid attention at all to what has been easy to follow through their rappers' daily updates on their street activities and bloggers that have become rich documenting them, spawning YouTube pages in the thousands that add to the infamy, you know that drill in Chicago stands for going out and finding the person or persons you're enemies with, otherwise known as ops, and bringing violence to them in any way they'll allow you to. If you do happen to catch one, then they are what they call lacking and easy to be had, a sitting duck. Drill music has come from that energy and has become so popular as an expression that it's turned into its own genre or sector of hip-hop. So much so that it evolved into its own sound that's very distinctive, catchy, and popular in today's society. Chicago's influence as far as rap music has become vast as of recent, to the point if you're a rapper from Chicago that can actually rap and has taken the time to polish their rap skills and most importantly stayed alive, you can blow up overnight with the right affiliations. Drill music is that hot at the moment, but there's a huge risk and a price to pay for that success. One that has taken so many talented Chicago artists in a self-growth stunt that sadly doesn't look to slow down anytime soon. Chicago could have been bigger than Atlanta far as talent they push to success and longevity, but for these reasons, that hasn't happened. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man.
Y'all ready to keep this thing moving?
Chicago has had a rich history in hip-hop music. It goes as far back as the 1970s when former Chicago police officer Don Cornelius hosted Soul Train on WCIU. Soul Train encompassed the lifestyle of hip-hop and not just rap music. There was dance, art, and urban expression that you could only get from there. Some went as far as to call Soul Train and Chicago the birth of hip-hop, where Soul Train lines were created in backyards before Don made it popular. Later, rappers like Twista, who was the first Chicago rapper to sign a multi-million-dollar record deal, began to break, along with Common and the richest rapper in history and most well-known, Kanye West. This was when Chicago didn't have the negative, violent aura about them in music. It also was the time Chicago wasn't producing the amount of rappers it has in the last decade because it wasn't violent. It didn't garner attention. Violence and attention sells records. Around late 2000s, this all changed and the war began. A war that made all the eyes pay attention in awe that this was actually happening. Rappers actually promoting it, labels actually signed them because of it, and fans actually supported most, actually making their rappers rich and famous. The ones that haven't died, that is. Stunt number 1, Chicago's urban structure. The first growth stunt to me for Chicago is obviously the violence that has taken over the city and made it a place few want to even visit, as top-known rappers have been murdered even in the affluent parts of it like the Gold Coast. As an individual of any race, creed, or gender, you could be murdered in Chicago at any corner of the city. That's largely due to the structure in Chicago that has placed opposing gang members right next door to one another, creating a highly volatile structure that usually spills over into different neighborhoods and can occur even in broad daylight with cameras all around. Most Chicago rappers will tell you that as young kids, these guys were actually friends or went to the same schools and dated the same people as who they now see as the enemy or opposition. The same enemy that could stand out in the street in front of where they live and look down the block and find opposition 2 streets down. This structure, as explained, you could understand how that could be a huge issue and cause daily tension as those young boys that were once friends and schoolmates have now grown into an age they can acquire guns and other weapons to attack or protect themselves from being attacked. Maybe the biggest example of this is the war between the Black Disciples and Gangsta Disciples from the infamous O Block, aka King Drive, aka Wick City 6400 Block, and St. Lawrence, aka STL EBT Gyro City or 63rd. These 2 opposing gangs in this area alone have produced some of Chicago's most well-known rappers. 90% of them have lost their lives on these same corners due to the inevitable street beef when you live in that close proximity to the ops. How has that affected hip-hop? Stunt number 2, blackballing. One of the biggest holdbacks for Chicago rappers is the blackballing that has become prevalent, whether self-inflicted by the artist or labels that rather not take the chance on investing in an artist because quite frankly, he may not be around long enough to be worth the time. What happened is there was a race that started early 2010s between rival gangs the BDs and GDs. With the killings starting to pile up, rappers were looking for a way to escape that reality. One of the only ways known to low-income neighborhoods like in Chicago is to rap. If you happen to get on, as they say, you can have the means to move you and loved ones out the hood and away from danger. But this race didn't mean everybody could participate. If one side got to the record deal first and had enough success that they could influence other rappers they did music with not to work with the other side, that could cancel a substantial amount of talent from ever seeing the light of day, no matter how good their music is. The BDs happened to be first to the deal with artists like Chief Keef, whose song I Don't Like blew up in 2012 with the help of Kanye West, among other records by Keef to follow. Lil Durk also got on the following year, leading to the BDs ushering a plethora of other rappers from their side, ones that only didn't make it because they either died or went to prison. Even affiliates of the BDs like G Herbo, Cowboy, and Polo G have managed to get on and have success, while the GDs have suffered a decade of being blackballed and not having a chance to get in the door, as GD rapper Ruga suggested in his 2021 GD Anthem song. "They finally let us in" was the sentiment of that song, and that couldn't be more correct. Only by now, most the talented GD rappers have been murdered or are still experiencing blackballing and can't continue further up the chain because of the Durks, Chief Keef, and the BD presence in hip-hop. Stunt number 3, the death toll. And finally, one of the main reasons the city of Chicago has fallen as far as their potential is because most the rappers from there die before they can even become famous. That or they go to prison for football jersey amount of years and in that case are essentially buried alive. From LA Capone to Lil Jojo, Young Pappy, Dooski the Man, Newski, Crump, Lil Mister, E-Day, FBG Cash, TB, and the most popular two that have lost their lives, FBG Duck and King Von, a guy I thought had the most potential of them all, that was already rich and famous but couldn't find a way to mentally transition. He was murdered in Atlanta and was the latest death that left a huge void in Chicago rap history. That's not to mention the buried alive rappers like Rondo No. 9, Just Blow, and Muwop to name a few, but so much more that haven't gotten off the ground for one of the above reasons. All in all, Chicago and drill music is still very much alive in rap, but mostly in the form of others taking their foundation and building their own structures on top. The city's young rappers haven't been able to capitalize enough off the bright ideas they had, and it's sad when you imagine what Chicago could have been for this generation. Sadly, as it stands, their music is all negative, but catchy at the same time, with the biggest attraction still coming from the fact these artists actually live what they rap, which means killing, blackballing, and negativity that will forever hold the city back. Salute, much respect to Chicago, but for these reasons, their growth is being stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.